Thank you, Honorable Minister. The final opening statement will come from the Special Envoy for the LRA issues for the African Union, Ambassador Madeira. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Invisible Children, for organizing this global summit and for your massive presence. You are making history. Joseph Kony is a murderous monster who must be stopped. LRA must be eliminated. Abducted children, young boys and girls, sex slaves, and instrumentalized child soldiers must be liberated. Populations in the LRA-affected areas must be protected, and humanitarian assistance must reach all those in need. Peace and stability must be established in the LRA-affected areas so that reconstruction and development can start. For this to happen, for us to succeed, a multi-pronged action, coordinated action by the African Union, by the UN, by the European Union, by you, the Invisible Children, and all your associate organizations and partners, by your government, the United States of America, by the civil society or other organizations of civil society and humanitarian agencies that already are in the field doing very wonderful work. These activities need to be continued in South Sudan, in DRC, and in Central African Republic. It must be reinforced. The defection program that the Invisible Children are implementing in these regions, together with many other activities they are carrying out, is already producing wonderful and substantial results. It must continue. The humanitarian agencies must be given the required means to continue the work of saving lives in a situation of despair, where without their assistance, lives would definitely be lost. In November 2011, the African Union designated the LRA a terrorist organization and authorized the operationalization of the Regional Cooperation Initiative to eliminate the group. The objectives of the initiative are to strengthen the organizational capacity of the armies of the LRA-affected countries to effectively eliminate the LRA, protect civilians, and facilitate the delivery of humanitarian assistance to the affected populations, and respond to the recovery needs of the affected communities and areas. The African Union, in coordination with the affected countries, has made significant progress in operationalizing the Regional Cooperation Initiative. We have established a joint coordination mechanism secretariat in Bangui, Central African Republic. A fully staffed regional task force headquarters with a joint operations center in South Sudan, and have, at this very point in time I'm talking to you, 2,850 soldiers ready for deployment. We have also finalized the relevant mission documents, notably the concept of operations, rules of engagement, and minimum standard procedures for troops. Our next move is to deploy the troops, taking full advantage of the approaching dry season to conduct robust military operations against the LRA. However, we are facing serious challenges in terms of facilitating the troops with airlift and road transportation, fuel and lubricants, medical evacuation, communication equipment, and food rations. This is our most critical challenge in eliminating the LRA. We need urgent support in these very areas. The African Union, therefore, appeals to its various partners to consider extending their support beyond humanitarian assistance to logistic support for the counter-LRA troops to equip and facilitate them with aerial and ground capabilities and harmonized communication systems. In this regard, the African Union plans to convene a support forum to mobilize resources to sustainably support the counter-LRA efforts. Increasing military pressure on the LRA will go a long way into strengthening the ongoing psychological operations to facilitate maximum liberation of abductees and the elimination of the LRA, as well as creating the necessary conditions for stopping Kony and take him to the International Criminal Court. The African Union feels that working side by side, humanitarian agencies, you, the invisible children, with wonderful work you are doing there, this work and the UN, it needs a big push. Military pressure will enhance your action because Kony has already said he will not surrender until we take him. We must take him.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to thank the United States of America. I want to thank your government for the work that it's doing, for the young and competent soldiers that it has put in those affected areas, and the wonderful job they are doing. And I want to thank you for your commitment, for mobilizing your parents to assist the populations in the affected areas, in the LRA affected zones. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Madeira, and thank you all panelists for your opening statements. I'll turn it over to Michael for the first question.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to start with the Honorable Deputy Minister from South Sudan. We heard in the introduction from the keynote address from Assistant Secretary Carson that there have been no LRA attacks in South Sudan for a year now. And that's an amazing accomplishment. The LRA first moved into South Sudan in 1994. And we're committing attacks against civilians for well over a decade. And I think it'd be really interesting to hear from you, Honorable Minister, what lessons has South Sudan learned in its efforts to keep people safe from these attacks that we can use as we try to see an end to this violence once and for all?
Thank you. While the LRA still presents a threat, the LRA activity has receded in the past 1 year due to two main reasons. First of all, South Sudan has gained its independence, and it is consolidating its sovereignty over its territory, and so those ungoverned spaces that the LRA used to exploit for carrying out operations against the innocent civilians have now disappeared. Furthermore, LRA, during the long years of war, with the North, use Southern Sudan as a launching pad against Uganda, with the new government in Juba, which is committed to regional peace and security, and which exercises its responsibilities towards the international and global family, LRA has no place, and we want to assure you that LRA has no place. And in that count, we have committed our efforts towards regional initiative to eliminate the LRA. We currently have a battalion of 600 men deployed with regional forces to combat the LRA. And so situation is much better simply because we have taken control of our country. Situation is much better simply because we are committed to this regional initiative to eliminate the LRA.
Thank you. I'm going to turn to Honorable Otengo from northern Uganda. Honorable Otengo, starting in 2006, the LRA left Uganda, and there were 2 years of peace negotiations that ultimately failed. And following those negotiations, the Ugandan government, once again, has been at the forefront of regional efforts to pursue the groups of LRA where they are. But the LRA is hundreds and hundreds of miles away from Uganda now. Why is it that Uganda still considers itself to have a responsibility to help address this problem?
For 26 years, the LRA caused atrocities in northern Uganda. We know the pain, we have the experience, and we have made a commitment that we are going to cooperate with any country where Kony goes until it comes to the end. It doesn't need to be in Uganda. The children they're abducting are children even to the Ugandan people, much as they are somewhere else. We are committed to working with other regional governments to make sure that Kony ends. I would like to warn that our army, with the support of the United States government, has become stronger, more professional, and more committed. And if Kony doesn't know, let Achelam tell him. Thank you.
A follow-up question to that. I think one of the most difficult challenges in dealing with the LRA is the fact that the organization is largely comprised of people who themselves were victims and who themselves were abducted at some point. Honorable Minister, can you talk a little bit about how the Ugandan government is trying to, even as you pursue the commanders of the LRA, what steps are being taken to help the abductees actually escape or get rehabilitation treatment when they have the chance to do so?
I would tell you that we have the amnesty law in place. We use the media houses. That's why we've come with two young people from the media houses, one from northern Uganda, DJ Cool, who owns a radio station, and one from the capital, Jingo Francis. We use the media houses to make sure that we talk to our children who are abducted to come out, and the UPDF are willing to protect them. I would like to tell you that some of the children we rescued, the UPDF were killed in the process because Kony used the children as a shield. For them, they put their life across and they were killed, but they rescued the children. I want to tell you one particular case. They rescued one of the Aboke girls, and they called me from the battlefield that we've got a girl who says she's from Aboke. She was abducted. Tell you what, this girl came out with Joseph Kony's child, and I would like to be grateful to the people of the UPDF, our army, supported by the United States of America. We'll continue rescuing the children and supporting them as they come out. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to turn to the Honorable Defense Minister from Central African Republic. The LRA first moved into Central African Republic, into the southeast part of the country, in early 2008, where they abducted. Their first move was to abduct over 100 children in that part of the country. And I think at the time I remember asking, how is it that the LRA is moving into yet another country that has no borders, no common borders with Uganda? And so I'd like to ask you today, what is it about the Central African Republic that led Kony to lead his forces into your country? And what can that teach us about how to prevent those kinds of movements in the future, whether it's Kony or other groups like him?
Je vous remercie pour la question. La question est cruciale.
Thank you for your question. It's absolutely key.
L'arrivée de Joseph Kony, c'est depuis 2008, avril 2008.
Joseph Kony arrived in April 2008 in our country.
Suite à l'opération Lightning Thunder, qui n'a pas atteint les objectifs escomptés.
This was as a result of the Lightning Thunder operation, which unfortunately did not succeed as
Et
expected.
n'avait pas impliqué directement la République centrafricaine dans les opérations.
The Central African Republic itself had not been directly involved in that operation.
Et je pense que c'est l'une des raisons qui a permis à Joseph Kony d'utiliser le maillon faible de la République centrafricaine pour pouvoir venir se loger, trouver un sanctuaire où il retrouve les mêmes dispositions qui étaient en RDC.
And I think that Joseph Kony saw in the Central African Republic a weak link, as it were, an area in which he could find safe haven and, in effect, the same sort of situation that he had around him in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
L'autre raison, c'est que
That's one reason.
Obo, le Hombomu, est une région qui est très distante de la capitale centrafricaine, pratiquement 2000 km de distance.
The other point that I made earlier is that the area in which Joseph Kony arrived and became entrenched, Umbomo, is very, very far from the capital. It's some 2,000 kilometers, very remote and very vast area.
Avec des difficultés en moyens de communication et en moyens aussi de déplacement terrestre. Juste à titre d'exemple, il fallait pratiquement 10 à 15 jours pour rejoindre la capitale à Obo.
With all of the attendant communications difficulties and extraordinary difficulties from the standpoint of ground transport, to give you an idea, it takes about, or used to take about 10 to 15 days to get from the capital, Bangui, to higher Mbo, where this fellow hangs out.
Et c'est ça qui a créé ce vide sécuritaire qui a permis à Joseph Kony de se loger là-bas. Et nous-mêmes, nous avons pris sur nous-mêmes d'accepter à ce que les troupes ougandaises viennent sur notre territoire pour nous appuyer dans la traque contre Joseph Kony.
And so this, in effect, created a security vacuum in which Joseph Kony, in fact, found the means to exploit the situation. And we ourselves welcomed the support of the Ugandan forces onto our territory in order to help us join in the struggle to oust him.
Et bien entendu, depuis octobre 2010, il y a eu une grande rencontre en République centrafricaine, un grand forum qui a réuni les États affectés par la LRA avec l'appui de l'Union africaine, où une stratégie a été mise en place, une stratégie d'ordre sécuritaire et de relèvement de la zone tant au niveau humanitaire qu'infrastructurel.
This led to a very major gathering in October of 2010 with the involvement of the African Union, at which all of the countries affected by Joseph Kony's activities gathered and where priority guidelines were set forth in order to target the area from a humanitarian standpoint and from a military strategic standpoint.
L'avantage de cette stratégie, c'est qu'elle a pris en compte les erreurs du passé et qu'elle a une vision globale de la traque contre Joseph Kony, puisqu'à cette époque, Joseph Kony a été désigné comme un terroriste et implique aussi le Tchad et le Soudan Nord pour vraiment ne plus donner un échappatoire à Joseph Kony.
The good news is that October 2010 meeting built on the mistakes of the past. there was a real effort to do something that would make a difference. And so the effort was to pinpoint where perhaps measures had gone wrong and how, from a security and military standpoint, things could be done differently. By then, Joseph Kony had been designated a terrorist, and we know absolutely that he was getting support also from Chad and northern Sudan.
Cela me donne l'occasion de m'exprimer à toute l'Assemblée ici.
This gives me the opportunity briefly to address the entire assembly.
Un drame est en train de se jouer en RCA au Sud-Soudan et en RDC.
There is, in fact, at this very moment, a very dramatic situation that is unfolding, not only in the Central African Republic, but in the South Sudan and in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Un crime contre l'humanité
I'm talking about a crime against humanity
qui demande à ce que tout un chacun ici puisse œuvrer dans le sens de l'appui à cette stratégie qui permettra d'anéantir Joseph Kony qui a fait tant de mal à la population de cette sous-région. Je vous
This is
remercie.
really something that galvanizes the international community, expressed in every one of your presences here, because it's only through international support and such energy as you have that we will all together manage to conquer Joseph Kony's activities and be done with him once and for all.
Thank you. Ambassador Madeira from the African Union, I think that's a perfect segue. He highlighted many of the challenges that are faced. I mean, both the logistical challenge of dealing in such remote areas where groups of the LRA can move relatively freely across borders, and therefore having an effective response has to involve all the governments in the region. And yet we have two of the governments who aren't represented here tonight, and with whom sometimes there have been challenges in that cooperation. So it'd be interesting to share from your perspective, what's the vision for how the African Union can secure that kind of cooperation, and what does it actually look like when it's being implemented effectively on the ground?
Thank you very much. I should start by saying that the theater of operation where the African Union mandated task force is supposed to operate is as big as France. For us to be effective in such an area, we need to be able to move freely in that theater of operation. I have visited all the affected countries, and they have all expressed commitment to the operationalization of the regional task force. For this to happen, these forces must be able to pursue Kony and his supporters and his elements wherever they are. And if they happen to cross the border, we should not stop. We should be able to go beyond until we stop them and arrest them. The challenge is that we need to come to a common understanding so that our troops can be more effective. We are working with those countries, and those countries have pledged commitment. First of all, when the pressure starts mounting, Kony is likely to escape to any of the neighboring countries. We went to Chad. We asked Chad, in case Kony crosses the border into their country, they should be able to arrest him and hand him over to us. The Chadians expressed a total agreement and acceptance of our request. We did the same with other neighboring countries. They have denied having any presence of Kony around, and they are going to work with us. So the challenges are there, and we are going to continue the diplomatic effort to have everybody on board. Thank you.
Excellent. Just one brief follow-up to that. Some of the latest reports suggest that the government of Sudan may actually be sheltering Kony. Do you have any message regarding what the African Union can do about that, or what the government of Sudan should be doing about that you can share today?
Well, I was in Khartoum some 2 weeks ago and engaged the Sudanese authorities on this issue. I got the commitment that they will collaborate with us.
Okay, thank you.
Ambassador, your work getting a commitment from Sudan is vitally important. I think the picture that I see on this stage is a picture of 4 countries that are committed and working together, but there's 2 that are missing. And so therefore, Ambassador, your work is of critical importance. Unfortunately, we only have time for one last question, and I want that to be on behalf of many people in this room who have raised a substantial amount of funds for the development and reconstruction of northern Uganda. Many of these students have raised thousands of dollars for partner schools or to fund scholarships for secondary and university school students. So, Honorable Minister Otengo, can you comment on the environment and the development progress in northern Uganda and how their efforts have contributed?
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, the Honorable Minister from northern Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to repeat what I said when I made another speech in the Georgetown University last week. I said, 25 years of destruction takes a long time to reconstruct. Northern Uganda has a Marshall Plan brought in by the Ugandan government. We are trying to fix the infrastructure, the schools, the hospitals, the roads, and trying to give support to our children. I want to thank you for having made that contribution. But it will still take a long way, and I still continue asking for support, not only from you, but also from your government. Secondly, what we are doing in the region in supporting the fight against LRA takes a long toll on our budget, and sometimes it becomes very difficult. We would like to continue asking for your support to our regional cooperation in fighting Kony. Finally, Uganda is now very safe. I see a lot of these young people. You must be tourists in Uganda. Uganda is a beautiful country. More than half of the population of the mountain gorilla exists in northern Uganda. Come and watch. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ambassador Madeira, I'm sorry I did not give you a chance to respond to my first comment, but how specifically, as a final thought to this whole panel, how specifically, if anything, can this audience help you in the challenging quest to get these governments more committed or for the whole effort to succeed?
Your level of advocacy is yours.
For the ambassador from the African Union. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. When the Acholi area of Uganda was under severe Kony onslaught, development could not take place. It started taking place when peace and stability was established. This same problem now is repeating itself in the LRA affected areas of Central African Republic, DRC, and South Sudan. So establishing peace is paramount. There can be no development without peace. And we need that peace as a precondition to anything good that we can do for our own people. The populations are suffering in those areas, are suffering severe malnutrition, serious diseases, and food shortages. We need together, with your resolve, with your enthusiasm, to make sure that Kony is stopped and peace and stability returns to those areas. For that, you need to continue to mobilize your parents and your neighbors to ensure that the efforts that you are doing today, the efforts that the humanitarian agencies are doing, are complemented and enhanced by a robust deterrent, military deterrent. Give us, mobilize funds, mobilize means so that the troops that are ready, young like you, are a bit older, are determined to be in that bush of Central Africa and face Kony, track Kony and stop him. If he wants to threaten us, then there we can have problems. What we want is to stop Kony, take him to the International Criminal Court. So please keep mobilizing your parents so that they pay attention to what is happening in Central Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, help me thank all of our panelists from this first panel, the regional leaders, and the Global Summit of the LRA.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.